Hello everyone, my name is Paul Richards and I'm here with my co-host Patrick Kirby.
Nice to see everybody.
And today we are talking all about live streaming and live broadcast. This is really where PTZOptics shines. This is kind of what we do is live streaming, live broadcast, and then video conferencing. So we want to talk about a little bit about how we live stream. And Pat, if you can join this meeting to do your screen share,
Yep.
That would be great. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about. I got the live right there. And by the way, anyone can call in. This is a live stream. In the very beginning, now we're on episode 5 here. We were figuring out how to do this stuff ourselves. We use vMix, but a lot of our customers use Wirecast and NewTek TriCasters, and we've actually had the pleasure to work with pretty much all of them. And we're actually doing something that's a little different in the industry where as you just saw, we're doing a video conference call, right? At the core of everything is a video conference call, and then we live stream it to the world. So the benefit here is that now we can, in fact, if you want to share our live.ptzoptics.com, not yet, get it up and running and get it ready.
Yep.
I want to show the wiring diagram of how we lay this out. Basically, we're using off-the-shelf items. We're using a PTZOptics USB camera for our video conferencing. We're using a frame grabber, which is a $250 Epiphan frame grabber. And this is our SDM model we want to show off today. And we're creating a system where anyone can join this live video call. You can call in. You could join with your video and audio. You can share your screen. It's a non-permissions-based live stream. And we're utilizing YouTube Live. Pat, if you want to go ahead and kind of show off how this is all connected, and do a little annotation. Let's show off really what we can do here. So Pat's sharing his screen now in a regular video conference setting, and you can use arrows. You can use
you still use the square.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, there's the 12x USB.
Yep. We got the PTZOptics. We're using
A HuddlePod Air,
as you can see right there.
It's a wireless USB 2.0 speakerphone. You're hearing us over.
And I believe you can switch to let's do a yellow highlighter,
Okay.
just to show. Got
There
our
we go.
Epiphan.
AV.io. That's how we're capturing. So basically, that part of it, Pat, if you want to show on the actual diagram,
Yep.
that's where we've got the NUC running the video conference call, and then we're splitting the HDMI, sending one to our display so we can see what the heck we're doing, and then one to our Epiphan frame grabber that's bringing the HDMI into USB into this computer, my laptop right here. And now my laptop has all of that, and now I can use vMix to use overlays. In fact, can you grab me the iPad and the little holder? We can control this entire live broadcast from an iPad. Hi, Justin. Thanks for joining. And that's something I definitely want to show off. I don't know if you can find the little holder thing, too. I had it out here somewhere.
Yeah, here, let me see if I can find it.
And one of the things I want to show is, since we're doing live broadcasts and showing off how this all works, I wanted to show how easy it is to control your entire live broadcast these days from your computer, from a touchscreen even. So here I have my touchscreen. And what it has here is it actually has an accurate representation of my what's going on in my live stream here. So I can just go ahead and click a button, and boom, now my lower third is gone. I'll put that back, and with the click of a button, my lower third is there now. Don't worry about it, Pat. If you can't find it, it's not a big deal.
Yep.
We'll just have to hold it here. But if you could zoom into this, I want to definitely make this a key part of our live stream.
Sharing too.
Yeah, stop sharing. And let's go ahead and zoom into the iPad. So this iPad, I always love showing this off because this is just pretty cool. And I wanted to explain the greenness there that you're seeing. Oh gosh, there is a lot of lights in this here. When you're seeing through, because we've got a green screen going on, so the green buttons are going to look a little funny. But basically, yeah, if you can, because it's just there. Good, you've got it. All right, so let me get this a little better on the screen here. So basically, what's happening here is this is the output. So I could, with one click of a button, change the output. But what most broadcast people like to do is they like to have something on their preview monitor. So this will be on my preview, and I'll just do this for the heck of it. If I hit Cube Zoom, that's going to actually transition it to whatever it's on the preview. Which is a blank screen, unfortunately. But basically, that's just an example. Obviously, if you had multiple cameras or different inputs, it would be easier to do that. Let's just focus just a hair. It's focusing on. There we go. It's focusing on the camera instead of the pad. So again, I can switch between my titles. Basically, there's an output, there's a preview, and then there's 4 overlays here. So I can overlay different things. So if I want to overlay, I think I have a little logo overlay at 6 here. So if I hit that, boom, now you're seeing a video overlay of a PTZOptics video that I have in the corner, which I didn't properly set up 100%. Let's see, what else do I have?
And this is an extremely easy way to kind of even give somebody else broadcast control from, even another room.
Yeah.
So sitting there, in front of the church. You're just kind of, people are getting into live streaming, church services or.
Here's a good example here. This number 9. Number 9 is a YouTube button. So when I click that, my YouTube subscribe button comes up. Oh, there we go. YouTube subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So stuff like that. You can control all of that. And I need to go back to. I need to get my clock back because I love having my clock. We have a live clock. I think it's 15.
Yeah, it's focusing on the
there we go.
Move the camera out of the picture.
And it's just a really great way to control, like Pat said, remotely control your entire live stream. It just really doesn't get that much better.
Gives you some really nice, just simplistic controls and overlays for your live streaming. And that's what a lot of this is. Just not every. A big thing that we heard with churches was that, you got to find volunteers and stuff like that. Not everyone has, a multi-million-dollar production budget. So these are great ways, for YouTube streamers or, people that stream for a majority of their content, their followers, etc.
And one of the things, a lot of people do, one of the things we do here, I just wanted to mention, is that we do a lot of live streaming, and one of the unforeseen benefits of live streaming to YouTube Live for us is that now I don't have any post-production. If I can produce everything just right in my live stream, I can save. I used to spend hours and hours on every video, in Adobe After Effects and different file things to, create the perfect live stream and the perfect video. But now I feel like we've taken it to a level where I don't need to do the post-editing because the overlays and the different things that I was putting in, I can now just invert live. The second thing, so here I've saved tons of time. Post-production, it's great. I'm super happy. Here's the next thing, okay? No storage on my computer. My computer's got a 240 gigabyte hard drive. I wish it was a terabyte. It's not enough. If you're doing video, you understand me. You know what I'm talking about. These files are huge. They're cumbersome. It takes tons of processing power. It's a nightmare, especially if you're doing it in 1080p. It's crazy. Yet Google says they're going to do it for free. They're going to let us stream to them for free.
They're going to do for free.
All the hard drive recording for free. It's crazy.
It's start for free. If I was to guess, I think they'd move to premium services.
Well, it'll probably be the cheapest out of anybody.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Exactly.
But we'll see. And they don't have all the special things yet. They're figuring out what they're doing. But, for right now, they considered it beta. This stuff works like a charm. We've been using it for months now.
Yeah.
And it works great. So,
a free streaming service.
That's 2 things that we've been doing that have just been great. But let's talk a little bit about, the difference between vMix and Wirecast, because those two are the most similar, I believe. And then we'll talk a little bit about NewTek. And what I want to do is I want to bring in a professional here. We have our Andy Chatfield, our lead support technician, is going to join us today. He has been in the broadcast industry for so many years. It's incredible. And what I'd like to do is bring him in. So I'm just going to say, hey, can you join now? And we're going to ask him a couple questions about live streaming and the broadcast industry in general. Hey, Andy, how's it going?
Going good. How's it going, guys?
Not bad at all. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, go ahead and do active speaker if you can. So that's gallery view. So Pat, we have different ways to view this live stream here. You'd actually have to click here. You actually have to click gallery view, and then from there you can hit speaker view.
Okay.
So Andy, we had a couple questions about the live streaming industry. We were going to start with the difference between, using something like vMix and Wirecast, which are really software-based solutions. Majority, vMix does have some hardware stuff, and using something like a NewTek TriCaster or a live streaming box. What are the challenges there when you're going to host everything from your own PC versus having a dedicated piece of hardware that you can kind of maybe reliability, our computers getting so good these days that it doesn't matter? Or we just wanted to ask you.
So yeah, one of the things I know NewTek with their TriCaster is they don't put a lot of proprietary software on there. It's just the NewTek software, and that's about it. So when you're talking about running vMix, you can have, on your main PC, you can have dozens of other applications that may hinder vMix or Wirecast, as opposed to the TriCaster is going to have its own hardware computer, and everything's going to be dedicated just to running that program and making all that stuff work. Because with Wirecast and vMix, there's other things going on the computer that are going to be bandwidth and CPU resources that are going to eat into how much is available for your live broadcast.
And live broadcasting is fairly processor intensive and bandwidth intensive.
Very much so, especially if you're going at 1080p, 30 or 60, it's very resource intensive.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, and I think that's one of the units you have there, right, Andy?
Yeah, this is my TriCaster 460. I was just doing some testing with that a little bit ago. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess.
So let's talk a little bit about cabling, because a lot of people in the broadcast industry seem to prefer HD-SDI, and you'd think that's been around forever. Why wouldn't you prefer HDMI or USB 3.0, for example? Seems like an ideal one. I mean, we use it all the time. Plug it right into your computer. Tell us a little bit about the cabling and what broadcast people seem to prefer.
Well, as you mentioned, a lot of broadcasters like using HD-SDI. There are some reasons for that. The number one being it can be run almost endlessly. I think its distance is about 500 to 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. Whereas HDMI, you can only run about 50 feet before you start losing signal. And with USB 3, you can only run about 6 to 9 feet, unless you're active USB 3. So what that leads into is if you're using HD-SDI cable, you can do very specific runs. If you have to go 100 feet just to make a cable to be 100 feet long and just terminate it real quick on the spot. Mm-hmm. HDMI is much harder to cut a head off an HDMI and try and re-terminate it back on, whereas with HD-SDI, I could do that in about a minute.
Oh.
HDMI, as an integrator myself, I couldn't even do that. So it leads to a lot of versatility when installing, as well as just the cost. I mean, basic RG59, which is SDI cable, is going to be significantly cheaper than buying pre-terminated HDMI cables. So for a cost perspective, as well as just versatility, HD-SDI is a far better solution. That's the reason why a lot of people use it, especially integration and live broadcasting.
Cool. Well, and that's making my mind spin a little bit here. I got a couple questions for you then. One of the questions I want to ask is, you're our lead support technician for PTZOptics. So you're the guy who picks up the phone and helps our customers when they hit walls. What would you say to our customers? What's the number one issue that people come up against that is an easy fix? What's some of the harder problems that the people come into that maybe they could listen to what you have to say and actually, prevent the problem from happening just from a system design standpoint? What are you hearing from day to day in the ticketing system and from the customers?
I get I get all sorts of random tickets from every aspect of the cameras you could possibly think of, from people calling just to explain the functionality of the remote, to people having driver issues the driver didn't install correctly, to hooking up joystick, hooking up control like I just talked to someone, so I have this set up. Somebody wanted to figure out how to set up control from our PTZOptics camera into a TriCaster, so I set that up real quick, made a quick video for him and sent it out. As far as issues that I hear over and over again, I mean, it's pretty few and far between. I mean, most of the issues I get are spread out over a very wide spectrum. I'd say the number one culprit for people calling in would be the USB 3 extension. Mm-hmm. That seems the number one hiccup when hooking up the cameras via USB 3.
And what would you say there? I know I've learned a few things myself, and one of the things I always tell customers is if you're hooking up the camera via USB 3 to a computer, plug it in directly first. Let the drivers load in case there's some issue with there's so many different USB 3.0 extensions. Then plug in your USB extension, and it'll be easier for the drivers to load that way.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it. What I've found with people calling in is we have a few cables we recommend for USB 3 extension that tend to work pretty well, but they're on the higher end price range. So a lot of people tend to buy a different USB 3 extension cable that's a little cheaper, and then it ends up not working for them. Mm-hmm. So usually what happens when I get calls is people call, I figure out what brand they have or what they're running in their walls, and if it's not working, I'll recommend one of the ones that we know to work, like the SIG cables or the Corning fiber optic USB 3 cables.
Gotcha. So SIG's a good brand to watch out for, and Corning is another good brand, I think, out of New York.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I've noticed is that some of this comes from, because I've seen when you plug in some of the extension cables, it almost seems like they have their own drivers.
Yeah, they do.
Right? So trying to get, the USB 3.0 PTZOptics drivers through the extension cable while it's downloading its own drivers, I think, sometimes causes a mix-up. But yeah, I've seen that as well.
All right, and I got a couple more questions for you, Andy. I wanted to ask a hard one. So, vMix and Wirecast, I consider them like software-based solutions. And the main difference to me is, vMix is really just a Windows-based client where Wirecast can go Windows or Mac. What are the main differences between vMix and Wirecast that you've noticed?
Honestly, in my time, they seem to be pretty similar devices. Wirecast, one of the features I like is the on-VIF discovery, which if you have a stream set up to be on-VIF enabled, will just show up in Wirecast as soon as you open the program. You can pull that in as a stream, which I think is very cool. It's not something I've seen in vMix.
No, I haven't seen that.
But I tend to use Wirecast a little bit more than vMix, so I'm a little more familiar with Wirecast as opposed to vMix. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I use a lot more vMix than Wirecast over here.
It all has to do with how many calls. I've got a lot more calls having to do with Wirecast, so that's where my experience has been lended to.
Yep, and we are going to start using Wirecast for our live streams. We kind of just wanted to, I got familiar with vMix. I got a little lazy, but we're definitely going to be using Wirecast here too. It's just like, got to learn a whole new platform.
Lazy? Never.
Tell me about this on-VIF discovery, because I think that might go over some people's heads. And explain what that is and why that makes Wirecast special.
So basically, on-VIF it's just a discovery method for picking up an RTSP stream. But as long as the program you're using and the device you're using are both on-VIF compatible, with our cameras, you can just turn on-VIF on in the IP display settings. And as long as you have that on, as soon as you go into Wirecast, instead of having to go in, type in a RTSP IP address and all that stuff, it just shows up as one of the it just says like web USB devices, web devices, and then right below that is your on-VIF devices.
And you can also use it simultaneously for camera control as well?
Yes, you can. If there's actually a free program I use, on-VIF Device Manager, and you can control up to 4 cameras, I believe, at once. Wow. And it's completely free. It pulls in a preview of the video feed and everything, and you can PTZ your camera around. call presets, all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it, just like in Wirecast, as long as you have OnVIF enabled on your camera, which all the PTZOptics cameras do have, you will just open up that OnVIF device manager and you would select the IP address of your camera. It should show up as a list of the ones that are discoverable there. Select whatever one you want, and you can bring that feed. You can see it, you can start controlling the camera immediately.
So that almost seems too good to be true, because now you can basically plug the camera into your network anywhere in the world, and you don't have to worry about cabling it directly back to anything. It just goes over the network to Wirecast. Are there any latency issues when you do that kind of thing, or?
There's always going to be some kind of latency when you're streaming, but as far as long as you're recording in vMix and your audio is coming in the same way your video is, through a USB port, your audio and video is going to be synced up, so there would be no issue as far as the latency. The people on the other end are probably going to be seeing your video feed maybe 10 seconds later than live, but that shouldn't make any big difference at all.
So, and the PTZOptics cameras do have an audio line in. So if you're going to be streaming your video over the network, should you also stream your audio over the network to make sure they're synced up?
You can, absolutely. It depends what your audio setup is. The camera doesn't have an amp or anything built in, so you would have to do all your audio processing first and then dump your output into the in of the PTZOptics camera to embed it in the IP stream. But you could also bring it, all your audio sources into a USB port to the same computer that you have Wirecast or vMix running on, and then you're pulling your camera into, and you can pull both of those into the same session at once and have no latency.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because that was my only concern, is like if you're using a USB microphone, which a lot of these small broadcasters use, but you're streaming your camera over the network, there might be some sync issues. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah, it definitely could be. As you already mentioned, using the audio in the optics could be a very easy to solve that issue, because that would put your audio right on with your web feed.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about the difference between vMix and Wirecast, and then you kind of consider like NewTek and the TriCasters to be their own kind of beast. Is there anything else in that category, or are they really the only ones?
I think some of the hardware options that vMix has available seem to be very comparable. I actually haven't had a chance to get my hands on it to test with, and so I couldn't say unequivocally, but the vMix stuff seems to have very comparable features for a slightly less of a price point. So yeah, I would probably put some of the vMix hardware in the same category as the TriCaster, yeah.
Interesting. And yet we're not really seeing a heck of a lot of people using it yet here in the States.
The TriCaster's definitely got that market pretty nailed down in the States.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so one thing to consider there is, the type of live streaming you're doing. Do you need a dedicated hardware like a TriCaster to do your streaming? Are you doing a lot of streaming? Is that kind of your main business model where you're doing concerts and stuff like that, or are you just doing kind of simple streaming? Some like us, some. We don't necessarily need a full TriCaster to do our broadcasts every week.
It's interesting because with the TriCaster, one of the reasons why people buy them is to get tons of video inputs into one system. But because we're live streaming a video conference, we can have up to 50 720p video feeds available to us at any time, coming from anywhere in the world. So it kind of reduces the need for having all of these like hardwired cables into a box.
Yeah, and you don't even need to be in the same location.
Yeah.
What about, Andy, you got any tips or tricks for people that are kind of looking into streaming options?
YouTube Live is a fantastic place to start. They have 4 different encoders you can choose from, Flash Media Live and Wirecast being a couple of them. It's all free. It's super easy to set up. You can just slap it onto your computer and start streaming away. I think that would be the best place to start for anyone looking to get into live streaming. And from there, you can go to any other place you want, pretty much. But YouTube Live does a fantastic job of setting up live streaming events.
Yeah, I mean that's really how I got into live streaming myself. vMix allows you to have a free license for up to 60 days, so that's completely unlimited uses. So that allowed me to start streaming, figure out what I want to do, which vMix package do I want to buy, and that's kind of why I'm biased towards vMix, because they gave me the free startup. I started to learn how to use their software, and then I started streaming to YouTube Live for free. I was just like, this is too good to be true.
And vMix also hits a very affordable price point.
Do you get into any conversations with people using paid CDNs, where they're paying for Ustream or something other than the free YouTube Live? And is there a reason why you'd want to go with one of those paid CDNs?
I personally really like YouTube Live, but the paid CDNs have a lot more options and things available to you. I know some people use Wowza and Ustream. These are both applications I haven't had a ton of experience with, but the clients I've talked to that have put time in to set up streams with those seem to stand by them very much. Mm-hmm. So I think it's definitely a worthwhile application. I think it makes streaming anywhere in the world, as opposed to just on your network, a lot easier. And that would be the main selling point of a lot of those streaming platforms.
Yeah, I know that there's some things, just like having a password on your live stream. You can't do that with YouTube Live.
Right.
Whereas just having a password, if you are having a corporate event you can't broadcast to everyone. But you need to broadcast it to thousands and thousands of employees. Yeah, you have to be able to have that.
Yeah, shareholder meeting.
You can do that on YouTube Live too. You can set up a private stream.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Oh, we're gonna have to. It'd be nice to do a video on that, just to share, because I didn't know that. I thought that was one of the main reasons why you went to a large CDN.
Well, I think it's about. So from what some of my experience and who I talked to using some of these things, I think it's kind of reserved bandwidth, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they kind of give you a dedicated pipeline when you use some of these services.
I've seen a lot of them becoming kind of like a boutique CDN, where I was looking at Dacast, which is DACAST, and they're kind of becoming this boutique player in the market, where they say, we'll help you sell tickets to your live streams. So not only are they hosting the live streams as your CDN, but they've also got all these tools and ways to collect revenue from your live streams. So I think that's going to be kind of the future of CDNs. If YouTube Live's going to come out and say, hey, we're going free, and you guys can either sink or swim, I think the guys that swim are going to find a way to make a unique experience for their customers and value add, with the perfect example, selling tickets to the live stream for them.
And I think that there's a larger trend here towards everything from user-generated content. Songs on YouTube. A lot of these people are charging for their. They want to be able to charge for their stream. Think speakers. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would go and watch. Pay for a speaker or not a webinar, but I guess they're like motivational speakers, if you will. Mm. Or businesses will send salesmen to sales training, seminars, stuff like that. And a lot of people, I think, are moving to doing that online, but it's tough with protection available. Once you kind of put a video online, it's tough to kind of stop people from accessing. So I think a lot of people are kind of moving towards a revenue-based streaming model. How can they take their internet content and generate revenue with it?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see more of that. And there's so many CDNs out there, it's hard to even name them. It kind of reminds me of the video conferencing industry, where there's so many of them, and there's going to be consolidation in the market. You can't support this many people doing the exact same thing unless the market just continues to explode the way we've seen it. Andy, have you seen any of our videos on the live streaming drones? And do you have any, you want to chime in there about, potential use cases that you might see being from your broadcast background?
Yeah, the drones add an element, especially with how well it's made nowadays, with the wireless HDMI feed putting out 1080p seamlessly, pretty much from a mile away. The drones have really gotten to the point where the only thing holding them back from being a much larger part of the broadcast market is the legal implications of using them. They are very, very useful and versatile as far as giving yourself access to numerous different shots in a live situation, especially an outdoor live situation. I always go back to just a live music event or something like that, where you may not even need to have fixed cameras on the ground anymore, because there's going to be crowd goer or the concert goers and whole crowd around all the cameras and stuff. It may be easier to put them in the air. I've seen a couple of the videos you've done with the drones, and the one you have, which isn't even a top of the line drone or anything. It holds it staples that video feed so well. It almost looks like it's on a tripod.
Ironically, yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's a huge plus to have the drones with a 1080p video feed wirelessly stream into TriCaster or wherever you're looking to go. It can open up a whole new world of shots you can actually get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ironically enough, I thought of some applications, with drones, and I see it being right. So one, it could go into your live broadcast for sure, but I've even thought about security at these events. You have a lot of people. A concert. You got a 3-day concert. Some things happen.
Yeah.
And you could have security. Going around the border.
Oh, definitely. We're going to try to stick with live streaming and broadcast for this episode, but there are tons of other applications as well. The other question I wanted to have for you, Andy, is have you seen any of these new mobile apps? And I think Wirecast has one called Wirecast Go, where it actually turns your iPhone into a live streaming input to the Wirecast.
I actually have not seen that.
Yeah, so that's something that Wirecast I know has that I don't think vMix or I don't even think the TriCaster has today. And it's called, I think it's called Wirecast Go. Maybe we could bring up their website, Pat, see if you can find it. But basically what it does is it turns your iPhone into a 1080p video camera for your live stream. And it's pretty crazy. I believe it's just for... you might want to go to telestream.net, which is their actual website. But yeah, apparently you can just turn any smartphone into a live streaming device, which we've thought, that would just immediately. Yeah. Is that what it does?
Yeah, Telestream introduces Wirecast Go mobile live streaming application,
which converts an iPhone into a live streaming broadcast studio. So that would allow you to just have 2 or 3 people. So this is, because there's going to be a time where people are going to say, hey, you can't fly your drone over 200 people at this live show. No one signed waivers for this.
Yeah.
It's not legal. We're not going to let you do it. But no one's going to stop you from bringing an iPhone into a live broadcast and getting up a shot that you just simply couldn't get from your broadcast booth.
Yeah. Interesting applications there.
So there's a lot of good stuff. Andy, is there anything else, in regards to talking to our broadcast customers and about PTZOptics? I know we don't support every broadcast frame rate. Maybe that'd be a good thing to talk about, the decimeter. Talk about integration with the TriCasters, what you found. I know you've documented a lot of this on video. Maybe also mention, the knowledge base and how you have that laid out for them so that they have questions to see if it's already been answered.
Okay. The knowledge base is sorted out in a few different sections, but the one that most people in this section are looking for would be the integration section, which would have our PTZOptics cameras being used with a variety of other hardware and software devices. I think that would be the best place to look for the handy resources that would help along with an install or a live broadcast.
Do you want to share your screen really quickly? Do you want to share your screen really quickly and just show us like help.ptzoptics and show us where we could find some of this stuff?
Sure.
Because I mean, you are the kind of the master of the knowledge base. So you would just go to what help.ptzoptics if you were a PTZOptics customer.
You just go to PTZOptics.com. The knowledge base is right at the top here.
Okay.
These are our different sections. The compatibility and integration, the two that people want to look at. This has stuff with Blackmagic devices, Altura software, and this is one about the decimator, which you had mentioned earlier. The PTZOptics cameras actually only output 7 specific resolution frame rates, some of which are not compatible with broadcast frame rates. So we do recommend a device made by Decimator called the MD-HX, and all it does is it's a resolution / frame rate matcher. So you can change your input, or you can take your input resolution and frame rate and change it to any basic resolution and frame rate you would need for your inputs. Very useful when using with the PTZOptics cameras because, as I mentioned, they have 7 specific resolution frame rates, and some other devices were broadcast frame rates, which is like 59.94, 29.97. Our cameras only output the solid frame rates, which is like 1080p 30, 720p 60, things like that. So the Decimator does a really good job for a pretty good price for letting you bring your PTZOptics camera into pretty much any system.
Great.
Cool. Well, that looks great. Yeah, I think it would be awesome in the future to have a dedicated like TriCaster section, dedicated vMix section, dedicated Wirecast section. As you know, so many of those customers are looking for solutions from us. But yeah, that looks great. So
Yep,
I think that pretty much covers what we wanted to cover in this webinar.
All right. Quick recap. YouTube Live is a great way to get started. Find out what type of streaming you really want to do. Do you need that dedicated hardware, or will a simple software option work for you? How many inputs do you need? How many cameras? What are you trying to do? I think it's just a good. Just try and consider what your streaming needs are, and once again, you can always contact us if you have questions about it.
And the last thing is that Andy, as you know, Pat, you've noticed as well, we're giving away free Zoom video conferencing licenses with every PTZOptics camera. Very soon, we're also going to have what's called a Zoom Room package, which we are using right now. We're not going to demonstrate it currently, but it allows you to control the entire video conference call from an iPad, camera control from the iPad.
Yep.
If you're using vMix, you've got live streaming control from the iPad. So remote control is going to be huge moving forward. So many customers, like you mentioned, Pat, want to be able to control this stuff remotely.
Yeah.
And
give control to somebody outside of the room.
We've got these solutions today. They're out there. They're not expensive, and we're just one part of the big puzzle, which is the camera part. But we want to help everyone, as much as we can. So that's why Andy's knowledge base is so chock full of integration videos and tips and tricks and what he's learned. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been a great video.
And feel free to contact us via our website, or I think our information's on our videos.
Yep.
Check out our past videos. We cover a lot of topics. And then join us next week.
Yeah, we just did some videos with the live drone footage in vMix. We did live drone footage in the TriCaster, and we'll probably do Wirecast soon. We might even do an entire episode based on live streaming with drones from PTZOptics. I think that's in the works. We should definitely do that. Yeah. Maybe early next year. But thank you everybody for watching. have a nice day. Andy's on another support call. So thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Have a nice day.
And have a great weekend.